You're welcome to this special edition of Power Wheel, a production of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. Do stay with us as we bring you trending news reports in the Nigerian electricity supply industry, NESI. I am Chinwenwa Anyanwu. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, Mr. Usman Gur Mohammed, says the action plans to modernize the national electricity grid is on course. He speaks more on the steps being taken in this interview. What prompted the expansion program at the Transmission Company of Nigeria?
When we came in, we established what we call Transmission Rehabilitation and Expansion Program, because when we came in, TCN was the weakest link in the power sector value chain. Everybody that has any issue, it is blamed on TCN. And I can easily tell you there are some element of truth in that, because for the 4 years that Manitoba was here, TCN was never audited. And TCN has, in the 4 years that Manitoba was here, they never raised a single dime. I mean, in expanding the grid, they never raised a single dime. But I can tell you, under the Transmission Expansion and Rehabilitation Program, which we have established, which is supposed to modernize the grid actually with a target date of 2021, to make the grid a modern grid just like any other grid across the world. Under that program, we are supposed to achieve four things. The first thing we need to achieve is that we need to have what they call frequency control. The frequency control is putting the generators under what they call free governor, so that they can respond to the expansion and reduction of the distribution companies without any manual interaction. So I can tell you that when we came in, the frequency was not under control. But I can tell you in 2017, June precisely, we enforced the free governor control, and we achieved frequency control of 49.5 and 50.5 Hz. I can tell you this has not been achieved in the history of Nigeria in the last 20 years. And even WAP recognized that and has also agreed to synchronize our load with the remaining other part of West Africa because of that achievement.
What are the other targets set in the Transmission Rehabilitation and Expansion Program, TREP?
As we speak with you, under that empowerment of TCN engineers are building a substation on an island in Lagos called Elashe. And that substation that they are building, our cost estimate through contract is supposed to be about 1 billion naira. But I can tell you the job is about 95% complete, and TCN engineers have not collected up to 100 million. So this is the kind of work we are doing. And you can read all over the papers. Every time we are commissioning substations, we are commissioning those substations because, first of all, we are taking over contracts that are not performing. We are also through our in-house capacity, and we are also forcing contractors to do what they are supposed to do. And we have also successfully been able to recover 696 out of 800 containers that were in the port, which were stranded sometime 15, some of them are over 15 years were stranded in the port. Some of them have been auctioned, but we are able to recover them in this period. And we are using in-house capacity to install them. So this is what we are doing. Now, in addition to that, we have been able to raise significant amount for investment in line and substation through multilateral donor. As we speak with you now, we have raised $1.57 billion from multilateral donors, ranging from the World Bank, African Development Bank, AFD, and Japanese International Corporation. Now, all those projects that I'm telling you, we have also gone ahead to change the procurement system in such a way that we cannot have the kind of stranded container we have been having in the port. What we are doing now is we are working to put N-1 across the country. Now, what is N-1? N-1 means that it's an international standard of transmission where everywhere you have an equipment, you are supposed to put 2. That means if you have requirement for 60 MVA, you are supposed to put 60 times 2. So what we are working now is that we are putting N-1 across the country, all over Nigeria. That's what we are doing. And if you look at all our procurement advert, you see several adverts coming up, which is indicating this. So this is what we are doing. So we believe that from now to 2021, we are going to stabilize the grid, make the grid a modern grid, and not only that, we should be able to expand the grid.
What are the challenges TCN is facing in delivering on its mandates?
On the challenges that we are facing, if you look at the power sector right now, it's TCN that is not covered. If you look at the generation companies, there's 701 billion that is a payment assurance that is covering them. If you look at the distribution company, they are collecting and paying on what they call best endeavor. So they decide what they will pay to the market, because the market is not, the contracts are not effective. So the only one that is not covered in the market is TCN. So this is one of the big challenges that we have. And we have raised significant amount for investment into lines and substation from the multilateral donors. But these are not monies that you can use to pay staff or to do salary or to do. They are project-specific money that cannot be diverted. It has to be used for the purpose intended, and that's why they are supplied by the donor. So this is one of the big challenges that we have. The next challenge we have, which we are also trying to overcome, is the challenge of right-of-way. Our right-of-way is bigger than all the other people in the sector. So if you are building a 330 kV line, you need to have 25 meters both sides. So this is very, very challenging.
What strategies have you devised to overcome this challenge?
So one of the means that we have devised to solve this problem is that we have been collaborating with state governors. So we collaborate with state governors for them to assist us with right-of-way, and that has been working. So all the play areas that we are working to establish a transmission line, we are collaborating with the state governments. For example, we are reconstructing the line between Alauji to Uweri to Onitsha. That line you remember that line was actually awarded under NIPP. We have realized that that line cannot be realized under that NIPP. So TCN is going to reconstruct, and is going to be financed by the African Development Bank. Now, we are collaborating with all the states that are involved in that region to support us in that reconstruction. We are also reconstructing the line from Delta to Benin. That also we are collaborating with the two state governments. Is at the same way we are also collaborating with Kano, Kaduna, and Niger State on the line from Shiruru to Kaduna to Kano. So this is the kind of thing we are doing, but there are challenges, but actually we are working to surmount the challenges.
What policies do TCN have to take electricity transmission closer to the people?
Modernize the grid means that we have to put capacity all over the country. And in putting capacity all over the country, we are also looking at stabilizing the grid and also expanding the grid to areas that are not taken care of in the past. And that is why a place like Kwale, we are putting 330 and 132 kV to Kwale, where we are going to build a 330 kV line from Calabar to Mambila, and then from Mambila up to Kano. And we are also going to close the loop between Kano and between Katsina and Sokoto. We are also going to have what they call median backbone, which will run from Mambila to Makodi, and then Makodi to Ayamba. If you remember the whole of Igala land, there is no single transmission interface. We are going to use that to put a 330 kV substation in Ayamba. Then from Ayamba to Ajakuta to Okene, Okene to Ado Ekiti, and then Ekiti to end in Oshogbo. We are also going to close the loop in Lagos. We have also concluded the procurement of a consultant to do a study where we are going to supply Eco Atlantic through underground. And we are exploring the option of putting another 132 kV substation both at Lagos Island and then at also Victoria Island. So these are some of the things we are doing across the country to ensure that we stabilize the grid and we make the grid modern grid.
Let's take a break for a message. Please stay tuned.
Do not build under transmission power lines for your safety and health. Electricity power lines and substations, either for power transmission or power distribution services, are extremely dangerous when exposed to direct human contact. These power lines and substations transmit electricity that lights up our homes and offices, power our computers, TVs, and refrigerators. On the other hand, same electricity when exposed is extremely dangerous. It can shock, electrocute, and kill anyone on its way. That is why everyone must adopt safety measures whenever we use or are close to electricity facilities like power lines or substation or transformers. For the safety of the people and animals, governments all over the world have approved way leave or right of way of 50 meters for 330 kV power lines and 30 meters for 132 kV power lines, and for 33 kV lines the way leave is 15 meters. People are not expected to be found within this way leave or right of way for safety reasons. The lines can suddenly cut and fall to the ground with very disastrous consequences such as fire and electrocution of anybody and destruction of anything, be it vehicle, houses or vegetation on its line. It has also been established that power lines and substation emit electromagnetic fields, EMF, which is dangerous to human health. The World Health Organization, WHO, has warned that people who spend long hours under or close high-tension lines stand the risk of being affected by EMF and be vulnerable to cancer, leukemia in children, miscarriages among pregnant women, and other terrible diseases. It is therefore advisable not to build any structure or operate any business under or near any electricity high-tension lines or substations. TCN wants you to stay alive, stay safe, stay healthy, avoid power lines. This message is from the management of Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN.
You're still watching Power Wheel. To increase the wheeling capacity of electricity to states, the Managing Director, CEO of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, Mr. Usman Gur Mohammed, has assured of facilitating more collaborations with state governments.
Mohammed gave this assurance when he received a delegation from Anambra State government at the TCN headquarters in Abuja recently. He mentioned a similar collaboration existing with Akwa Ibom State to deliver a substation project within 6 months, and with other states, saying,
"We have also entered into memorandum of understanding with the Delta State government. That incidentally, the memorandum of understanding was signed by Delta actually today. Today they brought the report to me that they have signed. Under that arrangement, we are building a 330 kV substation in Opai, and we are building 132 kV line from Opai to Kwale, and we are building 132 kV substation in Kwale.
So most of the generation will be coming from
yes, sir. So to supply Kwale, Okay. So that memorandum of understanding, as I told you, is between us, AGIP joint venture, and the Delta State government. The agreement has been signed by Delta State, and AGIP has already signed, so it's already concluded. Now, with Ogun State, we have also entered into a memorandum of understanding with them. We are building 5 number 330 and 132 kV substation in Ogun State, 4 330 and 1 132 kV substation. Now, the compensation for that project became very high, so we have agreed with the Ogun State government. They will take over the compensation, and then we will put the electromechanical and the lines and the substation.
He noted that such collaboration can also be extended to Anambra State government, as he itemized the various projects being undertaken by TCN in the state, saying,
"Currently, if you know, we have finished 1 by 60 MVA in Nibo Oka. We are working on the second 60 MVA in Nibo Oka. We are supposed to complete 60 MVA in Oji River."
He also said TCN was reconducting the lines from Onitsha in the state to Enugu State, and TCN had recovered container load of equipment for substation projects in Inewi and Oba substation in Anambra State, whose contracts were awarded several years ago.
The contract has failed, the person has not performed. And if you go to see the place, Goli Erosion has taken over that substation. So we are going to partner with you to how we are going to get a more better place where we are going to construct the substation. The equipment have been recovered in the port. All of them, transformer, everything, they are in Anambra State. They are all there. So we need to partner with you on how we can get a new place, because that your area is one of the most difficult areas in terms of right of way.
Well, I think he mentioned that.
So we need to partner with you. We need to expand the Onitsha substation. We have discussed with him. There are some areas that has been known. The people are asking about 30 million. We don't have money for this kind of work. So Anambra State government have to take over that cost, negotiate with them. And I believe that Anambra State government can reduce it because you are the owner of land. So everything that we can partner with Anambra State government, we are willing to do it.
Leading the delegation, Engineer Chike Okonkwo of Power Development Committee of Anambra State said they were at TCN to understudy the type of arrangement that the governor, Mr. Willie Obiano, could enter in terms of collaboration to deliver more transmission projects in the states.
I think it's also quite encouraging that it's been successful in other states, so there is a precedent that such arrangements will work. So if we can understand better what the contents of the MOU will be, like you rightly pointed out, there's some responsibilities assigned to TCN and there's some responsibilities assigned to the state government. Then we'll understand what it entails. If it's compensation, it's a lot easier. You take responsibility for the technical aspects. Also, the cost issue, we need to figure out if we spend on behalf of TCN, how do we recoup the money and things like that. But generally speaking, the concept is something that he's willing to explore. And as many projects as we can execute within a very short time period, we'll be willing to look at it.
Responding, the TCN head explained the various areas the state government support was needed in completing transmission projects in the states.
What can I assure you? In Anambra, I think we have a lot of quick wins.
Okay.
We can tackle the areas of this Oba substation now. We can locate it
there.
So that we can get a place. The equipment are all on ground. It's for us to relocate it to another place.
To enable it perform better, the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, has sought the takeover of its legacy liabilities that accrued under the defunct PHCN before the power sector privatization.
The Managing Director, CEO of TCN, Mr. Usman Gur Mohammed, disclosed this recently when he led his management team on a courtesy call to the Managing Director, CEO of the Nigerian Electricity Liability Management Company, NEMCO, Mr. Adebayo Fagbemi, at his office in Abuja. He noted that his management took over from Manitoba Hydro International, saying,
For the 4 years that Manitoba was managing TCN, there was no single audit that they carried out on TCN, no single audit. And also for the 4 years that Manitoba managed TCN, no single kobo was brought by Manitoba from either multilateral donor or from any other donor. No kobo was brought by Manitoba Hydro. And you know, to expand the grid and manage the grid, you need money, you need investment. Especially when TCN is getting less than 40% of its revenue from the market. Definitely you have to get money to expand the grid. So the grid is very, very unstable when we came in. I can tell you when we came in February last year, about 10 system collapse that happened. We don't know the cause. Nobody will tell you what caused it. But I can easily tell you now that anytime we have instability, we know what causes it. That means we have put a procedure on how to move forward.
Mr. Mohammed explained that Manitoba ought to seek NEMCO's support to take over such legacy debts of TCN, which was not cleared when NEMCO was clearing liabilities of the privatized GENCOs and DISCOs, but that Manitoba failed to proceed with the process. He said,
I'm happy to say that the collaboration between us and Bayo, who I can call my brother, has been very successful because we have worked very hard and we have been able to achieve something. We are not yet there, but we are moving.
Mohammed said to stabilize the grid and make it a modern type, TCN was striving to achieve 4 things that consist of having a stable frequency control, which has been achieved through a free governor control mechanism. The next was the ongoing competitive procurement of about 10% spinning reserve of grid generation capacity to stabilize the grid. He mentioned the process of procuring supervisory control and data acquisition SCADA system after such attempts in the past, adding that it was in progress. Mohammed also spoke of the need to expand the grid through the Transmission Rehabilitation and Expansion Program, TREP, as the fourth focal point.
We have raised $1.57 billion. It will interest you to know that there was no time in 1 year that either TCN or NEPA or TCN that they've ever raised more than $200 million in 1 year. And this money will put capacity across the country, and we are going for putting what they call N-1. Now, what is N-1? N-1 means that anywhere you need, there's a requirement for 60 megawatt. You are supposed to put 60 times 2. Anywhere there is need for a line, you put 2 parallel lines or you build a loop. So that's why we are closing the loop across the country, and we are putting N-1 across the country.
MD, CEO of NEMCO, Mr. Adebayo Fagbemi, expressed delight for the visit and the robust action plans of TCN in modernizing the grid, as he reiterated NEMCO's cooperation for more mutual collaborations.
This visit, it's timely, and it's also apt, at least at a time like this, as it relates to the collaboration between our two agencies.
Fagbemi noted that NEMCO has cleared the legacy liabilities of all successor companies and saved about 68 billion naira due to diligent verification of legacy liabilities of independent power plants, IPPs, saying,
I don't think there's any successor company as we speak, either Genco or Disco, that has pre-completion liabilities related issues. I don't think so. We've given them comfort, and it wasn't an easy journey anyway, but again, that's where we are set up, to give comfort to those successor companies so that they'll be able to actualize and operate without these liabilities weighing them down. So we tried as much as possible to ensure that the two major mandates of our organization, that's we are housing the liabilities and also we are housing the stranded assets of PACN, we are above board on them from the sector, and we gave the people the opportunity to prove their case if they have any case, and I want to assure you that nobody has been able to come forward to prove its case as it relates that. We've been able to also get discounts from all these creditors, because one of the strategy is that if you want your 100%, you should be ready to let go some part of it.
On the transfer of TCN legacy liabilities, the NEMCO boss said his agency was working to ensure the procedure was excellent and without legal issues.
Let it pass through the basic channels that the EPSR Act recognizes. That's the National Council on Privatization, and clear all those documents, all those areas. I'm aware that very soon there's likely to be a tripartite meeting between the Director Legal, Ministry of Power, Legal, TCN, and Legal NEMCO to see how best to structure that transfer process. So as I said, we are actually eager to take up your liabilities because we want to remain in business.
We're bringing you more reports in the Power Flash segment. Please don't go away. We hope you had an exciting time with us on this edition. Keep a date with us in subsequent episodes as we keep track of developments in the power sector. Join us on Power Wheel, same time, same station, next week. Until then, you can watch our program via our YouTube channel and as well reach us through these other platforms showing on your screen. I am Chiwenwa Anyao. Bye for now.